Bilingual and ESL program report. Mrs. Benavides.
Okay, we have, just like we had Ms. Nash here last month doing our special ed audit report, we also had an audit performed in our, let's see what's the best way to say that, ELL office, or of our ELL program, multiple different programs. They're bilingual programs, ESL programs, they're different. And so we have this done, and Ms. Benavides is here to summarize this for us.
Good evening, thank you. Yes, we had the Alphabet Enterprises come and do a review of our ELL programs. ELL is an English language learner. When a student comes into the district and he speaks a language other than English, we give him a test. If the other language is predominant, is more dominant, then he qualifies for an ELL program. Now, the law in Texas says that if a district has 20 or more students that speak one language other than English at a certain grade level, we have to implement a bilingual program. According to numbers, Wichita Falls has a bilingual English-Spanish program. So ELLs are English language learners, everybody. We have 19 different languages spoken by students in our district.
Say that again?
19 different languages spoken by students in our school district. So they are all ELLs, right? They're all English language learners. If they are in grades pre-K to 5th and they're Spanish speaking and they qualified, they go into the bilingual program. The bilingual program teaches both languages, English and Spanish. It's a transitional program. We want to use the Spanish so they can learn English. We're not teaching Spanish per se, but we need to have a base so they can learn English. From pre-K to 5th, 6th and on, everybody is ESL, English as a second language. Now, the bilingual teacher has to be certified and fluent in both languages. There are some districts that have 19 different bilingual programs. If we would get 20 kids who speak Arabic at the same grade level next year, we would have to implement an Arabic-English bilingual program. And the ESL is just a teacher that uses strategies and goes through a certification, but she doesn't have to be fluent in all the other 18 different languages. So ELL is the English language learner, bilingual is English-Spanish, and ESL is any other language, or kids above 5th grade. So El Saber came and looked at our ESL, English as a second language, and bilingual programs. They conducted an audit by visiting elementary and secondary classrooms where ELLs were being served, both bilingual and ESL. They conducted interviews with teachers and administrators, and they reviewed all district, state, federal assessments and accountability ratings. So they spoke to everybody who's in touch with ELLs and looked at our assessments and data. Now, the major findings and concerns, areas of opportunity, are we found no uniformity in the implementation of the bilingual and/or ESL program. There was no clear definition or shared vision on what the program should look like or how it should be implemented. Basically, everybody has their ELLs are concerned and they want to do the best they can, but basically every campus does whatever they believe is in the best interest of their students. There were no true bilingual classes. That means there was no instruction in both languages because our bilingual students were in classes with English speakers and speakers of other languages. So you have a bilingual teacher with 3 Chinese, 5 English speaking, 2 Arabic, and the rest were speaking Spanish. It's very hard to implement a true bilingual. We have a need for a clear understanding of second language acquisition and its effect on instruction. We had the belief that because a student can hold a conversation with us, he's already fluent. Or because a student has been in the country for 5 or 6 years, that automatically makes him fluent English speaker. So we have the TELPAS, that's one of the assessments they take, and this rates their English proficiency as a language, not academic, but as a language. And we found out that 20 of the elementary and 25% of secondary English speakers were scoring at an advanced high rating, and that is the rating that would make them parallel to a native speaker. So only 20% of elementary and 25% of elementary ELLs had the sufficient English to be on a parallel line with their native classmates, native English-speaking classmates. So, recommendations. We need to establish uniformity and a shared vision of the programs, implement a bilingual program. We have to offer professional development at all levels for a shared vision and understanding of second language acquisition, and target language proficiency at all levels. Sometimes we're a little bit more worried about academics than language, because that child can hold a conversation, but academic language is very different from social language or conversational language. So if we don't have the language down first, it's hard to go into academics, so we have to get that first. So steps to be taken. We have developed a comprehensive professional development plan that started in February with 2 district-wide trainings and workshops for both administrators and teachers. We're working very closely with Region 9. That's what every administrator and what every teacher needs to know about ELLs in Texas. It was very focused and targeted. It was given by Sidelitz. We have implemented 5 bilingual hubs in Lamar, Scotland Park, Brook Village, Southern Hills, and Sandy to serve qualifying bilingual students. This is for pre-K for next year. This means we're going to have one classroom, one pre-K classroom in these schools that has a bilingual teacher that will target instruction in both languages for qualifying bilingual students. Because of numbers, that's the population that impacts us more. And
K through 5.
we're implementing next year just pre-K.
Okay.
Because in order to have this, we have to have at least 15 students so we can justify a teacher, a bilingual teacher. So if you have a bilingual kid, you are going to be sent to one of these 5 campuses. So because before we had 2 Spanish speakers in one campus and 5 in another and 3 in another, it was very hard. So we have to put them together, so we're starting with pre-K.
District programs, just like we do with special education, with LEAP, with BASE, with life skills. So trying to create a mass of students to have a teacher there.
But we don't have 15 students per hub.
We have more.
Yes, we do.
Well, that's what I thought. I was
Right.
wondering what the problem was with starting the hubs. From what I'm hearing, we just pre-K.
Because you have to start some, for
I
example,
understand you start somewhere, but my question was, what I heard you say, well, there wasn't enough kids to do this.
So we're not
And
taking
that's what I was concerned.
second grade students from all around the district and moving them to a hub. Because we might not have enough at one of these. And then it's staffing.
I can understand
Also.
second grade, but first
And
grade,
but
K and first grade is what.
Pre-K is our starting point where we're going to be right. The rest will still be served on their campuses, but it just might be an ESL program or a bilingual program. It depends upon the campus. And so a student who, say, for the last 2 years has been at Burgess and was there in kindergarten and in first grade, we're not asking them to move second grade to go to Zundy for second grade. They'll still be served at Burgess in a ESL classroom.
I understand that, but we're talking about pre-K.
Pre-K.
My
yes.
question is, what about kindergarten and first grade?
No, we're not asking kids to move.
Okay, so we're not just starting, not asking at second grade, we're also not asking
Yes,
at kindergarten
correct.
and first grade.
That is correct.
So we're relying on staff development and training to beef up what we're offering on the other campuses.
We have certified
It's hard.
teachers at those campuses.
Right, okay.
We just don't have, we're not going to have 20 students in one teacher's class. So a bilingual certified teacher at one of these non-hubs might have second graders and third graders for reading instead of just second grade or something. And go ahead, Greta, I'll stop talking.
Well, I'm just
Yes,
saying, ideally, then you're starting with pre-K, and then and hopefully 4 years then from now, then you will have the established grade levels at each hub.
And have 18, 20 kids in a classroom at each one of these. And then they're creating, just like we do with the special ed program, they're staying with a group of students throughout their education career. And then when they're leaving 5th grade, then they will then have the option to transition back to one of their home junior high should they want to.
If a student
Middle school.
becomes proficient in English
Yes.
before
Oh.
5th grade, can they go back to their home?
Yes,
campus? So
there's-
they're not at a hub the whole time
No,
necessarily?
it's a choice,
Okay,
but there's criteria for exiting the program,
okay.
and we revise that every year.
We would
If the child
prefer,
is in TELPAS, that's one of the criteria. If they're at score advanced high, and they will assess listening, speaking, reading, and writing in the English language. And if they're advanced high, that means they're at the same level that their native English, and they can exit the program. Yes.
I think we probably would prefer that a student that, say, in 3rd grade exits the program, because they're going to go into a regular ed, general ed classroom, transfer back to their home campus, but
They don't have to.
I don't think we're mandating that, because, again, that's been our whole discussion, is keeping a group of students together. And so they're kind of grandfathered into that campus because they've already been there for 3 years or 4 years or more.
Is that something we feel is important, or is that something that the parents and the children feel that it's more important for their kids to be together in the same group? Or is it more important for them to transition from Spanish, which I believe is probably the biggest problem, but not problem, it's the biggest item to overcome, to English? Or I guess I'm weighing who made that decision.
Now the bilingual program precedes this, and when a bilingual teacher is, for example, let's say a 4th grade bilingual teacher, if she sees most of her classes at a certain English proficiency level, she's transitioning. She might be giving all instruction all in English, but then when she has to explain something and she sees the question mark in their faces, she can go back to Spanish and explain to those kids who need Spanish. But being in the bilingual program does not imply that you're getting all your instruction in Spanish by mandate.
Yeah, okay.
It's the teacher. The teacher has all these assessments, and she knows the English proficiency level of each one, and she'll cater to each one. So probably 4th and 5th grade, you might walk by a classroom and you might never hear any Spanish at all. We're not teaching Spanish so they learn Spanish.
Right.
We're transitioning.
Right.
Now, after 3rd grade with Texas STAR gives the opportunity to test either in English or in Spanish. So especially with newcomers that have to test, I mean, they do great if you give them the opportunity to test in Spanish. So let's say by 3rd grade, the instruction should be about 50%, 50 and 50%. So you say, well, this child you give him a benchmark in English and in Spanish. He made an 84 in English, he made a 54 in Spanish. He'll be testing in English, instruction will be given in English. You remember we have all these collaborative groups and small groups and one-to-one, so the teacher can cater. My lower students need Spanish instruction, so I'll explain in Spanish. These ones need in English. So it's not the instruction in Spanish per se.
I got you. Thank you.
Does that make sense? Mhm. So then, and we are implementing a comprehensive, targeted, and focused intentional English language teaching plan. Best practices, strategies, providing support and resources, especially letting know teachers and parents, because sometimes parents want them out of the program because my child can speak. He plays with everybody in English outside after school every day. Yes, his vocabulary is about 50 words. So just getting,
His academic vocabulary, though, is not what it needs to be.
it's not academic. When he comes and sees that science star test, he's gonna freeze because 9 out of 10 words he won't understand. So we've been out talking to the community. Parents are very understanding. They're very eager. We even have parents who want their kids in the bilingual program, even if they didn't qualify. They say, I'd like to have that support, even though I speak English, to have that support. So we've been doing that, but it's Spanish, so we can get to our target. That's English.
This may be a question you can't answer But if you have a student coming in pre-K who's Spanish speaking only, how long does it typically take a student that age to become proficient in English?
There are many factors. It depends if his parents are educated, if he has a strong support at home, you know. The Texas TELPAS gives you 4 years. Language acquisition theory says 7 to 10 years.
However, that's Spanish only.
Yeah.
Greta Benavides, when she moved to the States, her students were not served in a bilingual program. They went into regular ed, general ed classrooms because her students were already fluent in English. So,
My kids.
yeah, your kids.
My kids.
Her kids. You know, so her
My
right.
children,
four.
my own children. Yeah.
You know, so where is the
It
student?
varies.
Where's the student?
What's the second most spoken non-English language?
Vietnamese. Arabic comes third.
What was third?
Arabic. And with the base,
Yeah.
it fluctuates a lot, but
Do we have
second
a
is
high number of students, Vietnamese and Arabic speakers? Or does it drop off drastically from Spanish?
Arabic is very, you know, according to the base, every 2 or 3 years we have a lot of movement. Vietnamese is a little bit more stable, but I would say about 5%, 6%.
But our Arabic students are more so qualifying for ESL or
Yes.
ELL services than our Vietnamese students. Our Vietnamese students, their English is better.
Yes,
And we've
mostly
had-
they're second generation or third
Correct.
generation.
So not all 19 languages qualify for ELL services. They even though yes, at home we do speak German, but the student is fluent in English and German, so they're not qualifying necessarily for the program.
Help me with one definition. Yours are very good to open it up, and I appreciate that. But we talked before, Mr. Kurt, about the program that some in the community needed the same number of English-speaking kids learning.
Dual language?
That's dual language. Okay, so that's not the bilingual that we're talking about. Okay, I couldn't remember. I wanted to make sure that I thought they were separate, but I just wanted to clarify. Thank you. Great
Yes,
report.
and we're looking forward to, we had an early exit bilingual program in Wichita Falls. That means by 3rd grade, we wanted everybody out.
Mhm.
Our data tells us our kids are struggling. We're struggling to meet their needs. So we want to make it late exit. The state of Texas gives us up to 5th grade. You know, and that's what we're looking towards.
Will they come back for a follow-up audit then to see how we've done on implementation or what?
That's definitely something we can consider. For now, we're going to implement and see how this goes and then figure out, maybe we have them come out and check maybe specific criteria or specific curricular issues. And that's our biggest concern right now, I think, is resources. We lack a lot of resources. Our libraries are not where they need to be. Our bilingual resources, by that is what I mean. And so things like that. So we might be looking for a different type of audit, but yes, a few years from now, we definitely want to check and see how we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greta.